Amy Billick, a 17-year-old bursting with creativity and energy, had a passion for reading, writing poetry, playing the flute and guitar, and advocating for animal rights. She was widely admired and popular among those who knew her. This made her sudden disappearance from Miami, Florida, in 1974 both shocking and deeply heartbreaking. On Tuesday, March 5, 1974, Amy left to spend time with her friends. Before meeting her friends, Amy needed some money. She set off down the main highway in her Coconut Grove neighborhood, hoping to catch a ride to her father's workplace at an art gallery, where she planned to ask him for a small loan. Amy felt secure in the area, even though most people today would think twice before hitchhiking alone. Although the gallery was within walking distance, she often accepted rides and had grown comfortable with the routine. She had no reason to suspect this trip would be any different from the many others she had taken before. Unfortunately, this time was different. Amy never arrived at her father, Ned Bialik's office, nor did she meet up with her friends later that day. She vanished without a trace, with no sightings or contact from her after leaving. Concerned, her parents immediately reported her disappearance to the authorities, who launched an investigation into the case of the missing teenager. Early in the investigation, the Billick family received a phone call from someone claiming to be Amy's kidnapper. The caller demanded $30,000 for the safe return of the 17-year-old. However, authorities soon identified the perpetrators as two 16-year-old boys, Charles and Larry Glasser. These individuals had no connection to Amy's disappearance, and no knowledge of her whereabouts. Their false claim not only wasted valuable time but also diverted resources that could have been used to advance the search for Amy. In the end, they were accused of extortion. Amy's mother, Susan Billick, carried out her own comprehensive investigation, following up on leads and tips wherever she could, while the police kept searching for clues. One of the tips that Susan and the police got was that Amy had been kidnapped by one of the two biker gangs who were passing through the area at the time. One group was referred to as the Pagans and the other as the Outlaws. Both gangs are mentioned in sources relevant to Amy's case. While the Pagans often drew the most attention, both groups were dangerous, engaging in the trafficking of weapons, drugs, and prostitutes. Susan seized on this potential lead and urgently searched for her daughter. A family acquaintance, who had previously assisted the Pagans with legal matters, arranged a meeting between Susan, Ned, and two gang members. During this encounter, the couple learned that while these particular members hadn't seen their daughter, it was not uncommon for gang members to buy, trade, or exchange abducted young women for money or material goods, such as brand new motorcycles. The members promised the Billings that they would investigate Amy's disappearance by speaking with people who knew her, but they were never able to locate any further details. If they did, they never disclosed it to the family. Susan located the bikers in Orlando, Florida, 3 months after they vanished. Here, a manager at a convenience store said he identified Amy as a girl who had been with the group. She had visited the store multiple times to purchase vegetable soup because she was a vegetarian, and she was last spotted with at least 2 gang members. Sadly, this lead yielded no positive results, though it briefly offered the family and police a glimmer of hope. It wasn't until January 1976, a year and a half later, that a potential breakthrough emerged. A man named Dave contacted Susan, claiming he had once owned her daughter. He agreed to meet at his home, where he recognized Amy's photo and mentioned noticing her appendectomy scar, confirming he had seen her before. He saw her scar from the appendectomy, which had not been disclosed to the public at the time, and characterized her as being incredibly quiet, almost like a mute. Dave consented to investigate Amy's location. And a few weeks later, he and Susan went to Oklahoma, the state where the adolescent was allegedly being detained. When they got to the tavern in June, where Amy was intended to be handed to couple, a fight broke out and injured Dave. Several more motorcycles picked Susan up and took her somewhere safe. Dave eventually told Susan's lawyer that Amy was likely in Seattle, but she never heard from him again. Despite having recently suffered a heart attack, Susan traveled to Seattle in November 1977. Determined to find her daughter, she tirelessly showed Amy's photo to patrons and staff at bars, clubs, tattoo parlors, and motorcycle shops, convincing several witnesses to swear they had seen her. Many compared Amy to a mute woman they had encountered. Then, in the winter of 1979, Susan received a call from an unidentified man claiming that Amy needed help and was at a truck stop outside Reno, Nevada. The FBI was able to verify that the biker gang traveled through that area, but they were unable to verify if the young lady was among them. Only a single piece of evidence was found during the whole investigation. Amy's camera was on Florida's Turnpike, a toll road, at the Wildwood exit. It was discovered soon after the adolescent vanished and turned in by a man who had learned of her disappearance. The biker gang's route would have passed this exit as they headed north. It was unclear whether Amy had her camera with her when she disappeared, or if it had been misplaced earlier. Unfortunately, the camera revealed no useful evidence. Most of the process photos were overexposed, and one image only showed a white van, offering no new leads. In the late 1970s, Paul Branch, a member of the Pagans, came forward and told Susan that Amy had been his girlfriend. He claimed they had lived together for some time after he had bought her in Orlando. A year later, he claimed to have been arrested and had left Amy with his housemates. However, upon his release from prison, he discovered that they had both vanished, along with his motorcycle. Branch also told Susan at one point that her daughter was still alive and being held captive by other gang members. But Branch's wife said, following his death in the 1990s, that he had changed his mind on his deathbed and told her that Amy had gone to a pagan celebration the night before she vanished. She was allegedly raped after becoming ungracious and mouthy, but she fought back. It was claimed that Amy had been forced to take medications until her heart failed, and her body was disposed of in the Florida Everglades. Initially, this chilling story seemed believable. However, it later emerged that the widow had been paid by a documentary crew to share her account. The crew filmed Susan and the widow meeting, and because money was involved, the credibility of the claims came into question. The story is not believed by many police investigators or internet sleuths. It appears likely that the widow made this up in order to benefit financially and gain attention. Having said that, investigators were able to verify certain aspects about the party, but not the details of the young woman's destiny. We're still not done talking about the darkest and cruelest aspects that the family may have encountered while doing their research, in spite of all the confusion and red herrings. Amy's parents started getting odd, unsettling phone calls from an unidentified male caller soon after she vanished. The caller claimed that Amy was being held captive by members of an illegal sex ring and provided disturbing details about her situation. The family endured 21 years of harassment from this caller, who had been tormenting them with phone calls. In 1995, the FBI managed to trace one of the calls to a mobile phone, marking a breakthrough, as the caller had previously only used pay phones, making him difficult to track. It was revealed that Henry Johnson Blair, a U.S. Customs Department employee, was the disturbed individual responsible for bringing the family so much pain over 2 decades. His weak defense for the severe suffering he inflicted on the family, which he produced by his upsetting remarks, was that he was an alcoholic and suffered from OCD. Blair asserted that he didn't know Amy personally and didn't know anything about her disappearance. This claim was called into doubt, though, when law enforcement discovered specifics about a man who was mentioned in the teenager's journal. Amy wrote about Hank, a man who had offered her to travel to South America with him, and with whom she was thinking of running away. Blair, reportedly known as Hank, had to relocate to South America for work. Additionally, he owned a vehicle that was identical in both color and model to the one seen in the images from Amy's camera. Despite these unsettling coincidences, there was not enough evidence to prove Blair's involvement beyond a reasonable doubt. As a result, Blair only served 2 years in prison for his 2 decades of tormenting the family. Susan also received a $500 million settlement in her lawsuit against him. The Billig family's hopes were restored in 1992 when Susan received a call from a private investigator working on Amy's case. The investigator, a British national, said that he had been approached by an American biker who was trying to sell a young woman while he was in Falmouth, England. She was characterized as mute and was also American. Nevertheless, he failed to provide a photo, and the British investigator died a year later, making the lead useless. There are relatively few new leads and theories in Amy's case. Most internet detectives fall into one of two camps. Some believe Henry Johnson Blair is hiding something, while others think the biker gang knows more and is keeping quiet. Many argue that it's unlikely so many people would know about the teenager's fate without anyone coming forward. However, some suggest that the motorcyclist simply enjoyed tormenting a grieving family for fun. On the other hand, there are those who believe Blair was just a disturbed individual who took pleasure in causing pain to Amy's family, with no involvement in her disappearance. Some, however, argue that there is too much evidence to dismiss the possible connection between Blair, the van Amy photographed, and her journal. Unfortunately, Amy's parents will never see justice for their missing child. After battling lung cancer, Ned passed away in the early 1990s, while Susan lived to be 80. Passing away in 2005. Before her death, Susan co-wrote a book titled Without a Trace, The Disappearance of Amy Bialik, A Mother's Search for Justice, which focused on her daughter's disappearance. Amy's case was also featured on America's Most Wanted and Unsolved Mysteries. Unfortunately, the mystery of Amy's disappearance remains unsolved. If she were still alive, Amy would be 63 years old today. It's believed she may have gone by the aliases Mellow Cheryl, Sunshine, Mute, and Little Pieces during her time with the biker gang. If you're fascinated by unsolved mysteries and enjoying the video so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up to stay updated on all our latest content. Moving on to the next mystery. On November 18, 1928, Bessie and Glenn Hyde began an extended honeymoon, intending to float down the Colorado and Green Rivers Rapids for a few weeks. They said their goodbyes to Ellsworth and Emery Culp, two brothers who were also in the area. The couple set off on their boat, eager for the adventure, but they were never seen again. Nearly 100 years have passed since the Hyatts disappeared on their honeymoon, and their mysterious disappearance continues to fuel ghost stories among Colorado River guides who gather around campfires, as the true fate of the couple remains unknown. Although the couple was on an adventurous honeymoon, it didn't take long for their family to realize something was wrong and contact the authorities. Glenn's father initiated a search on December 6. Despite not being overdue at their final destination in Needles, California, Glenn's father sensed something was amiss. On December 19, nearly 3 weeks after their disappearance, a search plane discovered their flat-bottomed boat abandoned and floating in the river around river mile marker 226. The boat was in perfect working order with no signs of destruction or overturning. There were also no clues signaling what could have happened to the couple. Interestingly enough, the Hyde's gear and supplies were still found aboard the boat, securely strapped in and undisturbed. Authorities even found a camera on board with their last picture taken around river mile 165 around November 27. Search teams and investigators had trouble with this case because there were no signs of disturbance, technical difficulties, violence, or tracks leading away from the river. It was as if the couple simply vanished into thin air. Bessie did make a note in her journal, though, that they cleared river mile 231, leading many to believe that they had at least made it past mile 226, Diamond Creek, where they set up camp for a night. Additionally, Glenn was an experienced boatsman, having spent years operating and handling river rafts before their trip. He was considered an expert boat builder and managed their raft entirely on his own. He spent much of his life aboard rafts on the Snake and Salmon Rivers in Idaho. Although he was not a professional captain nor entirely familiar with the surrounding area, he was not an amateur at risk of making simple yet fatal mistakes. The leading theory for their disappearance was that the journal was self-sabotage because the couple felt massive amounts of pressure from their friends and family. They intended to set a record for the speed and duration of their boat trip through the Grand Canyon. Plus, Bessie would become the first woman to boat the entire way through successfully. This pressure to do well and succeed could have caused them to either make mistakes or purposefully fail themselves. However, authorities found no evidence on the boat or surrounding areas to support and prove this theory. One historian believes that they were most likely swept overboard when their boat hit one of the many submerged rocks in the rapids that lie near mile 232. The granite rocks often capsize and damage ships, causing many accidents every year. The Hyde's boat, however, shows no sign of distress or damage from stones. In 1971, an older woman was sitting with a group of rafters in the Grand Canyon and announced she was the long-lost Bessie Hyde, having escaped the canyon after taking the life of her abusive husband, Glenn. After authorities contacted her, though, she recanted the statement and denied ever having said it. After Georgie Clark passed away in 1992, some speculated that she might have been Bessie, as authorities discovered documents, including Bessie and Glenn's marriage certificate, in her possession. In 1976, skeletal remains were found that many believed to be Glenn's, but the University of Arizona later confirmed they belonged to a different man. Since the couple's disappearance in the late 1920s, numerous strange stories and theories have emerged. Their mysterious tale has inspired writers and artists, leading to novels, a musical, and even an episode on Unsolved Mysteries. To this day, no one knows what happened to the Hydes, and we most likely never will. Moving on to the next mystery. The Iwa is a legendary humanoid marsupial, often believed to be a great ape featured in Aboriginal mythology. Considered the Australian equivalent of Bigfoot, the Iwa possesses many primate-like characteristics, suggesting it could be an undiscovered species of great ape, or even a prehistoric human. The Iwa is described as being one of the most aggressive Sasquatch species and has been reported tearing heads off kangaroos and dogs. It's even been seen attacking humans as well. The Iwa is described to be around 7 to 9 feet tall with a large red mouth and talon-like claws, according to Aboriginal legends. It's also noted that the Iwa contain 2 large, fawn-like canines, which distinguish the Iwa from other Bigfoot species. It usually has a brown or reddish fur. Like most Bigfoot species, it's theorized that the Iwa descends from the ancient ape called Gigantopithecus. While the Gigantop Bigfoot theory may be valid, it's highly unlikely that the Yohi descends from the same Asian ape, as creatures from Asia never made it to Australia due to sea death and vice versa. Creatures from Australia never made it to Asia. This separation is marked by the Wallace Line. European contact with the Yohi is said to have begun with the arrival of the First Fleet in Sydney Cove in 1788. During the early colonial era, Aborigines often warned British settlers to be aware of an ape-like creature lurking in the rugged mountains and deep forests of the continent. One particular account which reached London in a letter in 1820 told of an encounter in 1789 by convicts and a party of Marines while on a hunting trip. The men killed a bunch of wallabies and were turning to the settlement when atop a nearby hill, they saw an animal observing them among the trees, which they later claimed was twice the height of an ordinary man. The first southern sighting in Australia was reported on Phillip Island, Victoria in 1849. During this encounter, several people observed a creature said to be between 6 to 7 feet tall, resembling a cross between a baboon and a man. At the time, the creature was said to be sitting near a lake when it was shot at. One of the stranger and more controversial sightings comes in the form of a photograph from 1936. It's one of a series of images taken by Rick Jones while working at an isolated loggers' camp in Batslow, located in the snowy mountains of New South Wales. The image appears to show a large creature sitting with his hands in his lap behind 2 men on a wooden log. Further analysis of the photo purportedly shows the head arrow resting near its chest looking down. This is due to tree-line matrixing. But what do you think the Yohi is? Let me know in the comments. Moving on to the next mystery. In 1923, more than 600 people mysteriously disappeared from the village of Horvard, located in Brazil. This remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries with no clear explanation. It's difficult to fathom that so many people vanished in just one day. Like many legends from this region, details about Horford Village are incredibly hard to verify. Visitors who enter the town are often taken aback by the eerie atmosphere. Everything was dead. No one was walking around the streets, and there was no sounds of anyone alive at all. As they roamed around the village, they could only hear the wind in their own footsteps. They looked around through the windows as well, but sadly, there was no one in any of the local houses. The visitors knew that something was wrong. They called the police and investigators. Upon their investigation, they found a gun which was taken to examination and a blackboard with "There is no salvation" written all over it. What does this sentence really mean and who wrote it? No one knows to this day. There are many theories about this vanishing village. Many believe the village was evacuated because of the political climate of Brazil back in 1923. It's believed people were left to avoid conflicts. There are many references to this story, but not a single one has proved to be correct. A lot of information is missing, and there is a high possibility we're never going to solve the mysterious disappearance of the Horvath village. Moving on to the next mystery. While the legend of the Black Volga is not limited to Ukraine, it appears throughout the former Soviet countries that once served as satellite states to the Soviet Union. The urban legend itself has seen many iterations, with some claiming a governmental conspiracy, black market crime, and even a supernatural presence entirely. According to the legend of the Black Volga, if you find yourself walking around town late at night, you could find yourself being stalked by a Black Volga vehicle that will attempt to coerce you into entering the vehicle, or will send men to drag you in if you refuse. When inside the Black Volga, these men will then begin to harvest your organs to be used for others that are willing to pay a large sum of money to get a replacement organ. Some claim that the car had been driven by the KGB. Others claim mafias and criminal organizations as being at the center. And one such iteration claims that the person driving the vehicle is that of the devil himself, ready to gather the souls of those that are lost across Eastern Europe well past nightfall. Moving on to the next mystery. The last time a nearby star exploded was in February 1987. Its explosion was monumental, sparking significant advancements in astrophysics and making headlines worldwide. For us here on Earth, we saw a sudden bright light in the sky. Now, we have reason to believe that another supernova could follow suit sometime in the not-too-distant future. Researchers can assess the likelihood of this occurring from the neutrinos coming from the supernova. Masayuki Nakahata and Keiko Hirata spotted the evidence of this happening, thanks to the Kamiokande 2 detector at the Kamioka Underground Observatory near Hida, Japan. The pair were the first to spot these fundamental particles coming from anywhere outside of our own solar system. Nakahata, who is now a physicist at the University of Tokyo, is the head of the world's largest neutrino experiment of its kind known as Super Kamiokande. This system will allow the observatory's computers to see in almost real time when neutrinos are being detected so that an automated alert can be sent out to the conventional telescopes all around the world, making sure as many people are able to witness this event as possible. Alec Habak, an astrophysicist at the University of Minnesota, Duluth, said it's going to give everyone the willies. By giving astronomers worldwide the advance notice, everyone can be ready to catch this event. The early warning provided by Super Kamiokande means that plenty of telescopes can turn, in many cases automatically, towards the supernova. When the skies are lit up, we can expect it to be brighter than a full moon, visible during the daytime and overwhelm the sensors in our telescopes, which are used to looking for hard-to-spot details. It is rare for us to observe a supernova up close, an event we do not often witness, and gives us a tremendous opportunity. Moving on to the next mystery. The Olmec civilization was one of the earliest complex societies in Mesoamerica, renowned for its unique art, architecture, and highly developed social and political systems. They thrived in what is now southern Mexico from around 1400 to 400 BC, though some societies influenced by the Olmec continued to exist in the region for centuries afterward. The Olmec are most famous for their colossal impressive public structures such as ceremonial centers and ball courts, and crafted detailed jewelry, pottery, and figurines. The Olmec had a complex system of government with a ruling class of priests, nobles, and warriors who controlled the labor of commoners. They likely had a highly developed religious system as well, with a pantheon of gods and goddesses that included the jaguar, the feathered serpent, and the rain god. The decline of the Olmec civilization is environmental factors such as drought, soil depletion and erosion, as well as political instability and internal conflict. The Olmec are widely regarded as a major influence on later Mesoamerican cultures, including the Maya and the Aztecs. The decline of the Olmec civilization is not entirely clear as there is limited written documentation about their culture. However, several factors have been suggested as contributing to their decline. One theory is that environmental factors such as volcanic eruptions and earthquakes may have led to the abandonment of their cities. Another theory is that their decline was due to political fragmentation and internal conflict. Additionally, changes in trade networks and the arrival of new groups in the region may have contributed to their decline. Despite their decline, the Olmec civilization had a significant influence on later Mesoamerican cultures such as the Maya and Aztec. Many aspects of Olmec culture, such as their religious beliefs and art, were adopted by these later civilizations. The Olmec civilization was considered advanced for their time. They were one of the earliest complex societies in Mesoamerica, and their culture and achievements had a significant influence on later civilizations such as the Maya and Aztecs. The Olmec developed a sophisticated system of agriculture, which allowed them to support a large population. They also built impressive stone structures, including temples and ceremonial centers. The most famous of these is Levinta, which was the largest city in the Olmec heartland and served as a major center of commerce, religion, and politics. In addition to their architectural achievements, the Olmec are also known for their artistic and cultural contributions. They were skilled artists and craftsmen who produced intricate carvings and sculptures, including the famous Olmec heads that are scattered throughout the region. They also developed a complex system of writing and calendrics, which had a significant influence on later Mesoamerican cultures. Overall, the Olmec civilization was highly advanced and played a significant role in shaping the cultural and political landscape of Mesoamerica. Moving on to the next mystery. In early 1995, the British government received over 60 reports from locals in Bodmin Moor. These reports described encounters with a large, black panther-like creature roaming the countryside. For those unfamiliar, black panthers are not native to Britain. What's odd though is hundreds of witnesses have reported seeing these creatures around Britain's countryside. They are said to have a large, powerful jaw, the muscled body of a big cat being more than 4 feet in length and black fur, making it nearly impossible to see at night. This led to the government starting an official investigation into the area of Bodmin Moor to try to better understand the existence of the creature, and whether or not it posed a threat to the residents. Shortly after the investigation began, a boy found the skull of a leopard on the banks of the nearby river. This caused many to speculate that perhaps there was a never-before-seen local species of large cats in the region. These creatures were then quickly given the name of the Beast of Bodmin Moor, which led to many experts trying to quickly assess the situation and better understand how a leopard could have arrived in the region. Many theories and myths have started that a rich private collector could have been illegally importing the creatures and soon freed them all throughout the region, a theory that would explain quite reasonably how the beast came to be and why it would be in the open areas of Bodmin Moor. Others believe that the Beast of Bodmin Moor is a direct descendant of the native wildcat species and that it's now starting to make a comeback. If the Eurasian lynx that used to call Britain its home, and what people are reporting is a panther-like creature. Also, the lynx has a much lighter coloration compared to what eyewitnesses are seeing. This has led many to believe that an entirely different cat species is being witnessed. Outside of the 60 direct reports of the creature, there have been other reports of leopard calls, hissing, and growling. Not only that, but many photographers have captured these elusive creatures. As of today, what people are seeing remains a mystery. It's not just giant panthers that are seen in this area. A variety of other creatures and humanoids have been reported in the last few years. For the last 30 years, people have been encountering black-eyed children. These entities are said to have a dark presence, and when someone encounters them, they feel fear. Those who have encountered them say that they give off a dark energy, and that it's left them feeling scared. Most of the people who have seen them want answers, but unfortunately are left with more questions than answers. The witnesses often feel that the children were somehow supernatural and could even read their minds. Over the years, many people have come forward with their encounters, and there seems to be a recurring theme. These black-eyed children usually prey on people when they are alone, and one of their main goals is to try and gain access to the person's home. It's not known what happens if they did gain access to your home, but some have come close. They usually say things like they need to contact someone, asking to come inside and use the phone. Most people would probably say yes if they saw a young person asking this, but it's the nature in which they say it. Most of the witnesses say that something doesn't feel right and that the energy around these people feel dark. A few people have reported having run-ins with these mysterious entities around the Bodmin Moor area. As of today, it's not known what these children are or what they want. Moving on to the next mystery. On April 18, 1980, a woman's body was found on the North Canadian Rivers beach in eastern Oklahoma County. The killer had covered her body with quicklime, presumably to speed up decomposition, but ironically it had the opposite effect, preserving her body. Authorities determined that she had been shot 3 times, which they were able to confirm during the investigation. Above her left breast, the woman had a professionally designed tattoo shaped like a heart. Her shoulder-length blonde to light brown hair cascaded over her shoulders. Investigators also noticed her extensive dental work, hoping this would help identify her in the future. Since she had no identification on her, her identification proved to be challenging. Due to the quicklime used to cover her body, she quickly became known as the Lime Lady. Captain Bob Green got to work on the investigation. He claimed that detectives had hypothesized that the Lime Lady was in the 18 to 25 age range. He added that his group had tried in vain to identify the woman despite using every resource available. Regretfully, the case was abandoned. Bob Green, however, made the decision to relaunch their investigation in 2018. In September 2018, he got in touch with the DNA Dope Project. Bob Green obtained DNA samples from the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation pertaining to the Lime Lady. After that, he submitted it to the DNA Dope Project. They had to wait 9 months for the DNA samples to be combined into a profile. His team discovered that the Lime Lady was a former Army soldier who lived in Las Vegas, Nevada. They then obtained military records, including dental data, by using a local medical examiner. These documents allowed them to identify the Lime Lady on January 30, 2020. As 21-year-old Tamara Littograt, Tamara had no living relatives, therefore it's a good thing they possessed her dental records. Tamara was born in California on April 18, 1959. This indicated that she turned 21 on the day her body was discovered. Later on, she relocated to Las Vegas, Nevada. Tamara had served in the American Army. Her sibling died in 2010 and her parents in 2000. This regrettably meant that I was never able to learn the fate of their loved one. Tamara vanished from her Las Vegas home after going for a stroll in March 1980, 1 month before her body was discovered. Someone reported missing her. However, since a woman in Ohio was using her identity, it was never investigated further. Her exact identity remains unclear, and she was never identified as a suspect. At least we now know who Amara is. That's a good thing. Her police are still aggressively searching for the person who killed her. According to Captain Bob Green, his goal was always to give the victim in this situation some respect. She vanished without a trace, and her family and friends are unaware of her whereabouts for the past few years. Moving on to the next mystery. The myths and legends of mermaids also feature male counterparts known as mermen. Together, mermaids and mermen are referred to as merfolk. There are numerous myths and legends about creatures that are half human and half animal, with mermaids being the most well-known aquatic version of these tales. The history of mermaid legends is fascinating as it includes a variety of interpretations of similar beings across different cultures worldwide. For example, the Babylonian fish god Era was essentially a merman that's been around for over 4,000 years. In 2008, waves were being made in South Africa as a legendary mermaid called the Cayman was making a splash in the news. A group of friends were camping near a river when they heard loud splashing and a loud banging noise. Upon further investigation, the group came upon a woman in the water. The woman appeared to be pale white with long black hair. Her skin appeared as if it was glowing. The most shocking feature was seen when the woman turned to the group. She had piercing red eyes. A woman ran to investigate the claims that the caiman had been seen. She noted that the mermaid had a sorrowful cry like a woman crying. After a moment of chaos with the group, the mermaid disappeared into the murky water. People of South Africa are very leery of the caiman, as she is known for pulling people underwater and trapping them beneath the depths with objects in which you most desire. Moving on to the next mystery. The Sikesira Lighthouse stands overlooking Lake Michigan from Sikesira Point. Originally built in 1892, this 78-foot tower has witnessed its fair share of history over the years. It is no wonder then that its walls seem to repeat the sounds echoed many years prior to the current residents taking over the location. In fact, one of its old keepers, known as Captain Joseph Townsend, is rumored by the locals in the area to haunt the lighthouse and adjacent museum to this day. According to local legends, Captain Joseph Townsend had passed away in the keeper's house back in the early 1900s, and that for months, the next keepers of the residence were unable to bury his body due to the terrible winter weather at that time. And so then his body was forgotten in the basement below the keeper's house. This has led people to believe that perhaps the fact that his body had not been laid to rest for so long, that is the main cause as to why the old keeper still roams the halls of the building. Many visitors and even working staff have claimed to suddenly smell strong odors of an old cigar similar to those smoked daily by Captain Joseph Townsend, and have also observed chairs and place settings moving on their own in the museum's kitchen. If you are interested in learning more about the location and the strange sightings, you can visit the museum and take a tower tour any day from Memorial Day through to mid-October. Moving on to the next mystery. Born in 1973, Sophie Sergi grew up in Pickeys Point, a remote village located along the Yukon River in western Alaska. At the time, the village was home to fewer than 200 residents, mostly of Aboriginal descent. Sophie's upbringing in this tight-knit community was shaped by the unique challenges and natural beauty of rural Alaska. The village instilled in her a strong sense of community, family values, and a deep connection to her indigenous roots, all of which greatly influenced her. The strong bonds within the isolated Alaskan community of Pickeys Point made life there unique and special. Sophie was considered a model citizen and a remarkable daughter, defined by her ambition, intelligence, and hard work. She became a role model for the younger members of the community. Sophie's aspirations reached beyond the quiet confines of her village, and she nurtured dreams of achieving significant accomplishments in life. Sophie's commitment to learning was evident despite the challenges posed by her remote location and limited resources. She earned a full scholarship to the University of Alaska, which required her to leave her hometown and travel nearly 500 miles. The university's dynamic, culturally diverse environment marked a stark contrast to her close-knit indigenous community. Sophie's academic focus was on marine biology, driven by her fascination with the wonders of water. However, despite her academic success, a life-changing event forced her to temporarily pause her college career. Sophie's decision to take a break from college was driven by two main factors. She felt a strong sense of responsibility to her family, particularly her ailing mother, and wanted to return home to care for them. Additionally, Sophie realized the financial challenges of continuing her education and decided to work and save money for necessary dental treatment. During her time away from university, she worked as a teaching assistant at a school in her hometown. Sophie's decision to pause her college journey showcased her commitment to giving back to the community and her strong work ethic. By managing her finances and saving for her dental treatment rather than relying on her family, she demonstrated self-reliance and accountability. Sophie intended to return to college after completing her 2 years of marine biology studies, showing her unwavering dedication to her academic goals. However, in April 1993, Sophie's life took a tragic turn during a weekend trip to Fairbanks. On April 25, 1993, Sophie traveled to Fairbanks for a dentist appointment. It seemed like a typical day with regular activities. She planned to stay with her friend Shirley, a student at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, who lived in the Bartlett Hall dorm. That evening, Sophie went out with friends, enjoying dinner, a movie, and engaging in activities typical for many college students. In what is believed to be her final known photo, Sophie is seen smiling widely, ready to embark on a sunset viewing excursion. After returning to Shirley's room in Bartlett Hall, Sophie spent a relaxed evening with Shirley and her boyfriend, Noah, watching movies. Later in the evening, Sophie went to the common area for a drink before deciding to smoke. Shirley suggested she smoke in the second-floor bathroom to escape the cold, which Sophie agreed to. Meanwhile, Shirley and Noah left a note on the door to let Sophie know they were heading out, unaware that this would unknowingly add to the mystery of Sophie's disappearance. When Shirley returned to her dorm room the following morning, Sophie was nowhere to be found. Concerned, Shirley called the police to report Sophie as missing, unable to find any clues about her whereabouts. At the same time, Sophie's orthodontist contacted her family, unaware of the growing tragedy, to inquire about her absence from a scheduled appointment. Later that day, a caretaker on the second floor of Bartlett Hall discovered a chilling scene. After a brutal attack involving binding, gagging, tasering, beating, stabbing, and a gunshot to the back of her skull, Sophie Sergi's body was found in the bathtub, her clothes torn, and her body soaked in water, an image that reflected the horrific nature of the crime. The University of Alaska Fairbanks community was rocked by the shocking discovery, prompting local authorities to begin an investigation into the murder of Sophie Sergi. On April 26, 1993, detectives, forensic experts, and law enforcement officers meticulously combed the dorm, documenting every detail of the crime scene. Given the brutality of the murder, the investigation needed to be thorough to bring the perpetrator to justice. Authorities gathered evidence, including potential DNA, hair samples, and fingerprints, carefully preserving them for future analysis. Despite the limited forensic technology available in 1993, investigators understood the importance of securing these samples for potential DNA breakthroughs in the future. The autopsy also revealed that there were no traces of alcohol or illegal drugs in Sophie's system, further highlighting the cold and calculated nature of the crime against her. Eyewitness testimony played a crucial role in uncovering the circumstances leading to Sophie's death. Two students, Vanessa Allen and Jennifer Roy, later provided key information. Vanessa, who lived in the dorm during the semester, recalled feeling uneasy on the night of April 25 when she entered the seldom-used East Side lavatory. She grew suspicious when she noticed the light in the bathtub room was on, something unusual for that time of night. Vanessa also observed sparks coming from the adjoining room, resembling the sound of firecrackers, which heightened her concern. Jennifer Roy, a senior preparing to graduate, was also studying late in the dorm on the west side. Around 1:30 a.m. on Monday, she noticed unusual sounds coming from the adjacent bathroom through the shared wall. She heard a rustling, a loud thud against the wall, and some mumbling, leading her to believe that a male and female were involved. Witness statements, forensic evidence, and the brutal details of Sophie's attack prompted a more intense effort to track down the perpetrator. However, the investigation faced challenges, as college campuses are temporary environments where students may leave for the semester and never return, complicating the search. Tracking down potential witnesses was challenging due to the constantly changing room assignments, and the dorm roster often failed to reflect the current residents. Investigators interviewed witnesses and followed up on leads to piece together the timeline of events leading up to Sophie's death, focusing on the narrow window between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. when the attack occurred. Over time, the Sophie Sergi case became a cold case, though investigators periodically revisited it. As forensic techniques, particularly DNA analysis, advanced, authorities seized the opportunity to re-examine the evidence, placing a renewed emphasis on using the preserved DNA samples to identify Sophie's killer. In 2018, advancements in DNA testing provided a breakthrough in the case. Using modern DNA analysis, detectives were able to create a genetic profile of the suspect from the preserved samples. The chances of finding a match were significantly improved by comparing the profile to DNA databases. The use of cutting-edge forensic tools and the unwavering pursuit of justice played a key role in progressing Sophie's case. Genetic DNA analysis, an increasingly valuable tool for solving cold cases, was essential in moving the investigation forward. By comparing DNA from the crime scene with publicly accessible genetic databases, this technology could potentially identify familial connections, making it a powerful tool in solving long unsolved cases. The advancement of genetic DNA analysis played a pivotal role in identifying suspects. In Sophie Sergi's case, the investigation took a dramatic turn when Stephen Downes, a Maine resident, emerged as the primary suspect. Further investigation revealed that Downes had been living in the dorm at the University of Alaska Fairbanks at the time of the brutal murder. Despite his denials during a 2019 interrogation, Downes was arrested in connection with Sophie's death. Downes was arrested after DNA from the crime scene matched the sample taken from Sophie Sergi's remains, confirming his connection to the crime. He was later extradited from Maine, where he worked as a nurse. Prosecutors built a solid case by collecting evidence linking him to the crime scene. Key witnesses, including Vanessa Allen and Jennifer Roy, provided crucial testimony, shedding light on the events of the night Sophie was attacked. The trial focused on reconstructing the tragic sequence of events leading to Sophie's death, using the recollections of those who were present in Bartlett Hall that night. The pursuit of justice for Sophie Sergi and her grieving family was significantly supported by witness testimony and advancements in forensic technology. In the end, Stephen Downes was sentenced to 75 years in prison for the brutal attack that took Sophie's life. While justice was finally served, Sophie's tragic death continues to have a profound impact on her loved ones. Though they found closure nearly 3 decades later, the events of 1993 forever altered their lives. The resolution of this cold case highlights the transformative potential of genetic genealogy in delivering justice to victims and offering solace to grieving families. Moving on to the next mystery. One of the most thrilling aspects of space is knowing that we cannot yet see everything beyond our atmosphere. Each new technological breakthrough in telescopes, satellites, or imaging devices allows us to uncover more about the vast space around us. 4 decades ago, Farhad Yusada, a researcher at Northwestern University, used radio wavelength observations to capture breathtaking images of the mysterious center of the Milky Way. These images revealed strange cosmic ray electrons arranged in magnetic, one-dimensional strands extending up to 150 light-years. Since then, progress in understanding the purpose of these strands and how they came to be has been limited. However, a recent image from Searle's Meerkat telescope has finally shed new light on this enigmatic region. Revealed in crisp detail are almost 1,000 strange strands dangling in space, paired or clustered, and spaced fairly regularly in a stacked formation amidst the radio emissions of surrounding cosmic events. Researchers working on the project were able to generate this image, which could very likely revolutionize the way that we view the ambiguous area at the center of the Milky Way by creating a mosaic of images taken from the Meerkat telescope at 20 different locations, all aiming towards the center. This technique generated a panoramic image with the background removed that left only a startlingly clear view of the strands, which will allow for an amazing amount of further study as scientists attempt to unravel the mysteries surrounding these strange strands at the center of the Milky Way. But how do they hope to accomplish such a monumental task? For starters, the team of researchers is focused on gathering as much statistical data as possible about the strands, which they currently believe to be related to earlier activity of the supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way to detect any key variations among the particles as well as to get a general idea of their properties. Additionally, they want to get a better understanding of the magnetic fields and cosmic rays surrounding the strands, which indicate that many of them likely do not share the same origin. To do this, each individual filament must first be carefully identified and catalogued. Another important element of the image is the fact that researchers will now be able to clearly observe the strands along with the passage of time, and will be able to determine whether the strange filaments are constant or evolving. Although it seems that this image created more questions than answers, it acted as a door to amazing knowledge regarding the mysteries that lie at the center of the Milky Way. And hopefully, many more answers will be revealed through the course of time. Moving on to the next mystery. The idea of wormholes, frequently featured in science fiction, has intrigued scientists and theorists as a possible method for traveling between stars. These theoretical space-time tunnels might offer shortcuts between far-flung points in the universe, enabling faster-than-light travel and facilitating exploration beyond our solar system. If wormholes do exist, advanced civilizations could potentially use them to cross enormous cosmic distances. Essentially, wormholes are thought to link different areas of space-time, providing a shortcut that avoids the need to cover the vast expanses of the universe. They are often visualized as tunnels or bridges that connect two distant points, allowing for near-instantaneous travel between them. However, the actual existence and properties of wormholes remain purely theoretical and have yet to be observed or confirmed by scientific observation. If advanced civilizations were to possess the technology and knowledge to harness wormholes, it would revolutionize their ability to explore and travel through the cosmos. The vastness of the universe poses significant challenges for interstellar travel with the limitations of light speed, making it impractical to travel to even the nearest star systems within a human lifetime. Wormholes could offer a potential solution to this problem by providing shortcuts through space-time, effectively reducing travel times to astronomical scales. By utilizing wormholes, advanced civilizations could access distant regions of the universe that would otherwise be inaccessible within a reasonable time frame. This would open up new frontiers for exploration, allowing them to study and interact with other star systems, planets, and potentially even other intelligent life forms. The ability to traverse great cosmic distances quickly and efficiently could lead to profound scientific discoveries, cultural exchange, and the potential for collaboration between civilizations. However, the practical utilization of wormholes presents significant challenges. The stability and maintenance of wormholes, the energy requirements for creating and sustaining them, and the potential dangers associated with traversing these exotic structures are all major obstacles that would need to be overcome. Theoretical physicists continue to explore the feasibility of wormholes and investigate the potential technologies and energy sources that could be employed to manipulate and utilize them. Furthermore, the existence of stable, navigable wormholes in the universe is still a topic of intense scientific investigation. While wormholes are allowed within the framework of Einstein's general theory of relativity, their formation and stability require the existence of exotic matter with negative energy densities, which have yet to be observed or fully understood. Theoretical models also suggest that wormholes may be extremely short-lived or unstable, making their practical utilization challenging. It is important to note that our current understanding of physics is limited, and our knowledge of wormholes and their potential uses by advanced civilizations remains speculative. The exploration of wormholes and their implications for interstellar travel is an active area of research, but significant advancements are needed before we can fully grasp their nature and practical applications. Moving on to the next mystery. We've already sent humans to live in space and on the moon. We've built advanced, massive telescopes and deployed robots to Mars. Many organizations have decided to push even further. The European Space Agency and NASA have been working diligently to determine if we are truly alone. Today, numerous projects are focused on scanning the stars for signs of intelligent life. Despite all our efforts, we have yet to make contact. However, this is mainly due to the fact the universe is massive. The number of known star systems and planets keeps on expanding. Scientists have many theories about why we haven't found any intelligent extraterrestrial life or why they haven't found us. Since we haven't made contact yet, one of the theories suggests there must be something stopping life from communicating with other alien species. The barrow we speak of is also known as the Great Filter. Great Filter is described as an event or a force that stops certain civilizations from getting close to interstellar communication or travel. Recently, there's been talk about exoplanet Barnard Star B. This is the closest one to Earth, and it's thought it could hold life. Scientists from the University of Pennsylvania said the following: geothermal heating could support life zones under its surface akin to subsurface lakes found in Antarctica. We note the surface temperature on Jupiter's icy moon Europa is similar to Barnard Star B, but because of tidal heating, Europa probably has liquid oceans under its icy surface. The most significant aspect of the discovery of Star B is the two nearest star systems to the Sun are known to host planets. As mentioned, Europa is attracting a lot more scientific attention, and for good reason. Europa is the smallest out of 4 Jupiter's large satellites, but it seems it might be the most important one too. Looking at Europa, it might be a possible host of new unknown life. As the brightest moon in our solar system, Europa is actually entirely covered with ice. The surface of Europa is pretty strange. It looks like broken glass and has no craters at all. According to the researchers, by studying Europa's density, it's pretty obvious that it has a lot of ice, which means there's a lot of liquid too. Certain models of Europa show there might be oceans as deep as 50 kilometers under the 5-kilometer crust of ice. As many of you know, organic carbon is the key building block of life along with water, oxygen, and nitrogen-rich atmosphere. These are key elements that have to be present for life to grow and thrive. Recently, scientific studies have shown there could be several spots in our solar system that could hold life, but it's still thought that Europa is the most likely. Researchers and scientists believe Europa's water is in contact with the Moon's core. This means that it could be possible for chemical reactions to happen. Some have theorized that if we broke through the ice and into the ocean, it could be teeming with life. Europa is a geologically active world, and we know this because NASA's Hubble telescope has taken photographs. It's not a matter of whether life is out there. It's more a question of will we ever make contact. In the Milky Way galaxy alone, there's over 1 billion planets. In fact, researchers have come forward and said that that number is on the lower end of the spectrum. They believe there could be more than 10 trillion planets in our galaxy. In the observable universe, they're estimated to contain 200 billion or 2 trillion galaxies. This gives you an idea to how vast the universe is. It's very likely there's over a septillion planets in the observable universe. So what do you guys think? Bearing in mind how many planets there are out there, do you think it's likely that other forms of life exist? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed exploring these intriguing unsolved mysteries with me. If you found the video fascinating, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Unsolved Mystique for more deep dives into unsolved mysteries. Your support helps me bring you more compelling content. Leave a comment below with your thoughts or any mysteries you'd like me to cover next. See you in the next video.